Hello, friends. A very good morning. Welcome to English Minds. Today we begin part 2 of our 500 most important questions on William Wordsworth, a must for all competitive exams. In this part, we will cover his life, major works, and poetic vision. Everything you read to build a solid foundation. So stay focused, take notes, and let's dive into the world of Wordsworth. Let's start it without wasting time. What is the central theme of Tintern Abbey? Option B, moral, the moral and spiritual influence of nature. The poem highlights nature's role in spiritual and personal growth. Wordsworth contrasts his youthful experience of nature with us. Option A, present mature understanding. Wordsworth contrasts his youthful excitement with his deeper philosophical appreciation of nature. In Tintern Abbey, nature is portrayed as option B, a divine and guiding presence. Nature is depicted as a spiritual force and that nurtures the soul. The poem reflects Wordsworth's belief in option B, the power of childhood memory. The poem emphasizes the transformative power of memory in shaping experience. Wordsworth expresses gratitude for nature's ability to option B, guide his moral and spiritual growth. Wordsworth sees nature as a teacher and moral guide. What does Wordsworth say about his youthful response to nature? Option B, he experienced it with passionate delight. As a young man, he was thrilled by nature's physical beauty. As an adult, Wordsworth perceives nature as a source of option C, profound spiritual insight. In adulthood, he sees nature as a source of deeper spiritual understanding. What term describes Wordsworth's belief that nature has a spiritual presence? Option B, pantheism. Wordsworth's view align with pantheism, where nature is seen as a manifestation of the divine. Which aspect? The Tintern Abbey reflects the romantic ideal of memory. Option B, the ability of past experiences to shape the present. Memory plays a crucial role in Wordsworth's poetic vision. The poem presents Dorothy Wordsworth as option D, a companion who will carry on his love of nature. He hopes Dorothy will continue to cherish and be inspired by nature. The poem Blank Verse from Eloge for, which literary device is prominently used in Tintern Abbey. Option B. Alliteration and assonance. Wordsworth employs poetic devices such as alliteration and assonance to enhance rhythm. The poem Blank Verse form allows for option B, a natural and flowing rhythm. Blank verse allows for a conversational yet elevated tone. Wordsworth's use of personification in Tintern Abbey is seen in option A. The sounding cataract haunted me like a passion. This line personifies the cataract waterfall, giving it a emotional quality. What type of imagery dominates Tintin Abbey? Option B. Natural and pastoral imagery. The poem is rich in description of landscape, rivers, and trees. The poem followed which structural movement? Option B. From youthful excitement to mature reflection. Wordsworth transitions for his earlier passion for mature to a deeper philosophical contemplation. Which poet was directly influenced by Tintin Abbey? Option B. Robert Frost. Robert Frost's nature poetry reflects Wordsworth's influence, particularly in meditative quality. Tintin Abbey reflects which major romantic ideal? Option C. The deep connection between man and nature. Romantic poetry emphasized an intimate bond with nature. Which critic described Wordsworth's poetry as emotion recollected in tranquility? Option B. Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Coleridge famously described Wordsworth's poetry emotion recollect in tranquility. The poem is often studied as an example of option B. His mature philosophical vision of nature. Tintin Abbey represents Wordsworth's evolved understanding of nature. Which element of romantic poetry is most evident in Tintin Abbey? Option B. The celebration of nature and individual experience. The poem embodies romantic ideals of personal experience and nature's significance. The prelude is an example of which poetic genre? Option B. Autobiographical poem. The prelude is an autobiographical poem that that traces Wordsworth's spiritual and poetic development. What is the complete title of the prelude? Option B. The Prelude, an autobiographical poem. Option C. Growths of a Poet Minds. Option C is correct answer. The Prelude, Growth of a Poet's Mind. This is the full title under the Prelude. Under the Prelude was first published in 1850. The Prelude was originally, originally conceived as a part of which unfinished poem? Option B. The Recluse. The prelude was intended as the introductory poem to The Recluse, an unfinished philosophical work. In which year was Prelude? The Prelude first published posthumously. Option C. 1850. Though Wordsworth wrote the Prelude over many years, it was published posthumously in 1850. Which event influenced Wordsworth to delay the publication of the Prelude? Option A. The Napoleonic Wars. Wordsworth delayed the publication due to the political turmoil of the Napoleonic era. To whom did Wordsworth dedicate the Prelude? Option B. Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Wordsworth dedicated the Prelude to his close friend and fellow poet Cambric. What is the primary focus of the Prelude? Option A. The poet's personal growth and development. The poem is a spiritual autobiography reflecting Wordsworth's journey as a poet. How many books are in the final version of the Prelude 1850? Option C. 14. The Prelude, published in 1850. P4. 14 books. The Prelude is written in which poetic form? Option B. Blank verse. Wordsworth wrote the Prelude is unrhymed iambic pentameter for suited suited for meditative poetry. The earliest version of the Prelude was composed in which year? Option B. 1799. The earliest version of the Prelude was composed in 1799 and was known for the two-part prelude. What is the central theme of the Prelude? Option B. The growth of the poet's mind. The poem explores the evolution of Wordsworth's thought, emotions, and poetic identity, which movement influenced the philosophical ideas in the Prelude. Option B. Romanticism. The Prelude embodies the romantic ideals of nature, memory, and personal experiences. Wordsworth believed nature was option B, a powerful spiritual force shaping human consciousness. Wordsworth sees nature as a living force that shapes the human mind and soul. What does role memory play in the prelude? Option A. It serves as a bridge between past and present experiences. Which book of the Prelude describes Wordsworth's experience of the French Revolution? Option B. Book 9. The book details Wordsworth's enthusiasm and the latter disillusionment with the French Revolution. The poem reflects Wordsworth's transition from radical political beliefs to option A, conservative and spiritual reflections. Wordsworth's early radicalism gave way to a more introspective and conservative outlook. In the prelude, what is the significance of the boat stealing? Option C, it shows how nature instills both awe and fear in him. The boat stealing episode illustrates the power of nature to evoke both wonder and terror. How does Wordsworth describe childhood in the prelude? Option A, as a time of deep spiritual connection with nature. Wordsworth believed childhood was a sacred phase when one was closest to nature, spiritual essence. Wordsworth sees nature as a teacher that imparts. Option B, moral and philosophical wisdom. Nature for Wordsworth is a source of for deeper understanding and moral guidance, which philosophical belief is central to the prelude. Option B, pantheism. Wordsworth belief in nature's divine presence align with the philosophy of pantheism. Which literary device is prominently used in the prelude? Option B, personification. Wordsworth frequently personifies nature, attributing human qualities to nature's element. Wordsworth's use of blank verse in the prelude allows for option B, unnatural and meditative tone. The lack of rhyme allows for the fluid and introspective narrative. What is the tone of the prelude? Option B, introspective and philosophical. The poem is deeply reflective, chronicling Wordsworth's inner journey. Wordsworth, which imagery dominates the prelude? Option B, natural and rural imagery. The poem abound with abides, abound with abide by descriptions and landscape, mountains, rivers, and personal life, pastoral life. The climax of the prelude occurs in option D, final version, 40th books. The final book provides a grand vision of poetic and spiritual enlightenment. Which romantic poet was most influenced by the prelude? Option C. Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Coleridge admired the prelude and saw it as a masterpiece of romantic poetry. The prelude is often considered a romantic epic because option B. It is long and autobiographical. Unlike traditional epics, the prelude focuses on personal rather than heroic exploits, which critic praised the prelude as the greatest long poem of the 19th century. Option B. Matthew Arnold. Arnold considered the prelude the greatest long poem of the 19th century. The poem is significant because it documents Wordsworth's personal and poetic evolution. The poem is significant as an account of Wordsworth's artistic and philosophical development. The prelude is often compared to which other long poem? Option A. John Milton, Paradise Lost. The prelude is often compared to Paradise Lost due to its philosophical depth and blank verse structure. Ode to Intimations of Immortality is primarily concerned with option C, the memory of childhood and its spiritual significance. The poem reflects on the loss of childhood innate connection with the divine. In which year was Ode to Intimations of Immortality first published? Option B, 1807. It was first published in Poems in two volumes. Ode to Intimations of Immortality was written during which phase of Wordsworth's life? Option A, early Romantic phase. Wordsworth wrote the poem during his early and leading Romantic poets. What is the subtitle of Ode to Intimations of Immortality? Option D, The Immortal Soul. The full title of Ode Intimations of Immortality from Recollection of Early Childhood. The ode is often regarded as a response to Wordsworth's feeling about option D, the loss of his youthful idealism. The poet laments the fading spiritual vision of childhood. The philosophical foundation of the poem is primarily influenced by option B, Christian theology. The poem incorporates that idea of pre-existence with align with Christian Napoleonism. The central theme of old ode to intimations of immortality revolves around option B, the poet's longing for an earlier connection to the divine. Wordsworth explores how the childhood is closer to a divine state. What event caused Wordsworth to reflect on immortality and childhood memory? Option D, the loss of his first child. Option B, option D, the death of his brother John. Option D is correct answer. John's death in 1805 deeply affected Wordsworth, influencing his later poetry. Ode to intimations of immortality can be classified as option B, a philosophical lyric. The poem blends personal reflection with philosophical theme. The poem reflects the romantic belief in option B, the immortality of the soul and the power of nature. Romanticism emphasized the divine connection between the soul and nature. In Ode to Intimations of Immortality, Wordsworth believes that children have option A stronger connection with to the divine world. Wordsworth suggests that children have an innate spiritual vision. The term intimations of immortality in the title refers to option A glimpse of the soul's ex- eternal existence. The poem reflects on how childhood memories hint as a pre-existent state, state, which concept from the poem suggests that the soul retains memory from a previous existence. Option A, reincarnation. Option B, pre-existence. Option B, pre-existence. Wordsworth draws from a Platonic idea that the soul exists before birth. Wordsworth's vision of immortality is closely tied to option B, the ongoing relationship between nature and human soul. He sees nature as a medium for spiritual insight. What does Wordsworth suggest about the experience of growing older in the poem? Option B, it results in a loss of innocence and spiritual clarity. The transition of adulthood dims our connection with the divine. In the poem, Wordsworth described nature as option C, a reflection of the divine and eternal. Nature is depicted as a bridge of higher truth. The poem contrasts childhood innocence with option B, the harshness of the adult world. Childhood is contrasted with the disillusionment of maturity. According to Wordsworth in the poem, childhood experiences are option B, divine and carry spiritual significance. Childhood memories serve as reminder of the soul immortality. In Ode to Intimations of Immortality, Wordsworth believes that the loss of youthful vision is option C, a temporary fading and of the soul connection to nature. Some spiritual vision can still be retained. Option B, it allows on to regain the spiritual vision of childhood. Memory acts as a link to lost divine experiences. The poem is written in what form? Option A, blank verse. The poem follows the unrhymed iambic pentameter form, which literary techniques is most evident in On to Intimations of Immortality. Option B, personification. Wordsworth personifies nature and childhood memories. In the poem, how does Wordsworth use nature imagery? Option C, to show the spiritual connection between the human soul and the natural world. Nature is the in the poem is not just a physical about also spiritual. The repetition of phrase intimations of immortality in the poem is an example of option A anaphora. The repetition of the phrases emphasizes key themes. The tone of the poem can be described as option C reflective and philosophical. The tone shifts from loss to acceptance of spiritual growth. The use of apostrophe in the poem refers to option A directive address to a person or thing not present. Wordsworth often addresses abstract concepts as if they were alive. The symbolism of the rainbow in the poem suggests option B a connection to childhood innocence and divine visions. Rainbows symbolize the lingering presence of childhood wonder. Wordsworth uses blank verse to maintain formal structure and rhythm. Blank verse allows Wordsworth to achieve a natural yet elevated style. What is the central paradox of the poem? Option C. The idea that immortality is both lost and retained. Though childhood vision fades, memory preserves glimpse of it. The final lines of the poem expresses option A, complete acceptance of loss. The poem concludes with a mature appreciation of nature's enduring beauty. Ode to Intimations of Immortality had a profound influence on which latter poets. Option B. P.V. Shelley. Shelley's ideas on nature and transcendence were influenced by Wordsworth. What did the poem contribute to the development of Romantic poetry? Option B. A deeper exploration of the spiritual connection between human and nature. Romanticism emphasizing emotional and spiritual thought. Emotional and spiritual thought. The poem philosophical content was influenced by of the following. Option B. Platonic idealism. Plato's theory of the soul, pre-existence, shaped the poem's philosophy. Ode to Intimations of Immortality is best known for its option B. Exploration of immortality and childhood. The poem is one of the finest reflections of, on the nature of the soul, which romantic poets echoed Wordsworth's ideas is an ode to intimacy or immortality. Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Coleridge admired Wordsworth's thought on memory and spirituality. Simon Lee of is about option B, an old man struggling with poverty and old age. The poem presents the hardship of Simon Lee, a former huntsman who has grown old and weak, emphasizing the theme of human suffering. In VR7, the child insists, option B, she has six siblings, including the two dead ones. The poem contrasts a child innocent perception of death with the adult perspective, as the girl includes her deceased sibling in the count. Lines written in early spring focuses on option B, the regret of humanity disconnect with nature. The speaker reflects on the beauty of nature and laments humanity moral and social decline. In exposition, and reply. The poet argues that option B, the nature is a greater teacher than books. The poem promotes the idea that nature imparts wisdom, criticizing over reliance on bookish knowledge. The table turn advocates for option B, the wisdom in the nature as a teacher. The poem urges people to seek knowledge directly from nature rather than from books. I hope you liked this video. All that brings us to the end of our 500 most important series, part 2 on William Wordsworth. We have covered his life, works, and themes, poetic style, and influence, ensuring you're fully prepared for examination. Remember, Wordsworth poetry is not just about nature, it's about life, emotions, and the power of imagination. Keep devising, stay confident, and trust your preparation. If this series helped you, don't forget like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much.